Before we crack open tonight's cursed can of content, I just want to say a big thank you to all our subscribers, and an extra sinister shout out to the loyal members of the Sinister Elite. You legends help keep the darkness alive. If you're enjoying the stories and want to take it a step further, hit that like button, make sure you're subscribed, and consider joining the Sinister Elite by clicking that join button below. Members get access to creepy custom emojis and exclusive Sinister Elite badges that level up the longer you survive with us. It's like loyalty, but spookier. All right, lights off, headphones in, and let's summon something we'll all regret. My name's Dale, and I deliver packages. Not the cool kind with fragile stickers and bubble wrap. Nah, I work for Interdimensional Logistics, or as the three people who know about it call it, IL. We're the poor suckers hired to bring parcels across dimensional cracks to people who shouldn't exist. You want to know what it's like? Imagine being a UPS driver, but instead of knocking on someone's door, you're knocking on a pulsating archway in an abandoned laundromat at 2 a.m., and praying the thing behind it doesn't eat you before you hand it their order. The only thing that keeps me alive? The rules. Every package has them, taped to the side, typed out on cheap paper like someone's grocery list. Break one, and you'll find out real quick why my predecessor lasted 3 shifts before disappearing into the spiral dimension, with nothing but one of his sneakers left behind. Tonight, my truck rattled over potholes on a dirt road that shouldn't even exist on Google Maps. The GPS flickered, rerouted, then just displayed like it had given up. I parked beside a barn that looked like it hadn't seen daylight in 200 years. The back of my van hissed as I opened it, glowing faintly from the seams of the package I had to deliver. Rule sheet taped on top. Delivery number 1. Recipient: the choir. Knock 3 times on the barn door. No more, no less. Do not make eye contact. Do not listen for too long. Cool, I muttered. So basically, don't do human things. I clutched the box and trudged to the barn. My knuckles rapped 3 times. The wood vibrated like it was hollow. Then the sound of singing drifted out. Except, it wasn't music. It was backwards. Like a hymn rewound on a busted cassette player. The door cracked open. Inside stood 6 eyeless figures in choir robes, mouths yawning too wide as notes warbled out of them. One held out hands that were too long, too many knuckles. I shoved the box into them, avoided their gaze, easy since they didn't have eyes, and got the hell back in my van before I started humming along. That was stop 1. Stop 2 was worse. The package label read, Delivery number 2, Recipient, the birthday crowd. Enter through the striped tent flap. Do not accept balloons. Leave before the song ends. I pulled up to a field where a carnival tent sagged in the middle of nowhere. Inside, a birthday party was happening. 20 balloon people, literally, bodies of rubber and smiles painted on, turned toward me, all clapping. "He's here! He's here!" they sang in unison. A cake sat on the table, candles burning blue. I dropped the parcel on it, heart hammering. One of the balloon men floated closer, offering me a red balloon. Its painted-on grin stretched wider. I shook my head and bolted, as the crowd sang Happy Birthday backwards, their voices squeaking like helium. I made it out before the last U. By the 3rd stop, my nerves were wrecked. This one was labeled for something called the Watcher in the Deep. Rule sheet said, do not leave the boat. Do not look into the water. Do not acknowledge the ripples. I drove until I hit swamp, where a rusted rowboat sat tied to a dock. The package glowed faint green. I climbed in, shoved off. The swamp was silent, except for the plop. Plop of bubbles rising where something massive shifted below. Hands shaking, I slid the box overboard. The water hissed, bubbles burst, and then silence. No ripples, no sound, just stillness. I rowed back without looking once. If I had, I'm pretty sure I wouldn't be here telling you this. By the time I threw myself back into the driver's seat, sweat plastering my shirt to my back, I thought about quitting. just dumping the van and running to Mexico. But that's when I noticed the next package on the shelf. It was heavier. The label glowed like embers, and the name printed on it made me freeze. Recipient, Mr. Prime. I didn't know why, but just reading it gave me chills. Whoever, or whatever, Mr. Prime was, his delivery was next. And something told me his rules weren't going to be like the others. The package for Mr. Prime sat like a loaded gun in the back of my van. Black metal edges stamped with strange runes that seemed to crawl if I stared too long. Unlike the others, it didn't hum or glow. It pulsed like a beating heart. And the rule sheet was short. Too short. Delivery number 4. Recipient, Mr. Prime, enter the rift only when the sky burns. Do not speak first. Do not run. I read it twice, 3 times. My palms got sweaty. This wasn't like don't look or don't accept balloons. This sounded like a dare. The GPS blinked, then displayed a single word. Battlefield. Great, I muttered. Just what I needed. Another Warzone delivery. 5 stars on Yelp for sure. The rift appeared off the side of a highway. A swirling, vertical tear that looked like someone had spray-painted fire across the air. The sky above it bled orange and crimson, clouds twisting like embers. Rules said enter only when the sky burns. Well, check. I gripped the box, muttered, "Here goes nothing," and stepped through. It hit me like walking into a war movie cranked up to 11. The ground was scorched, littered with wrecked machines half buried in ash. Towering metal suits lay in smoking heaps, some still twitching with blue sparks. The air reeked of ozone and blood. In the distance, shadowy creatures shrieked, their bodies jagged like broken glass given legs. And in the middle of it all stood a man. Not just a man, a legend. He was built like a statue carved by gods who had nothing better to do than perfect the human form. Muscles corded his arms and chest, his armor battered but glowing faintly with runes that matched the package I carried. His face was scarred, but in the cinematic kind of way, the kind of scar that says I've survived more than you'll ever dream of. He hefted a massive blade that shimmered with trapped lightning. This was Mr. Prime. I froze, clutching the package. The rules said, do not speak first. So I kept my mouth shut, even though every instinct screamed to say something like, sign here, please, just to cut the tension. Mr. Prime turned toward me. His eyes were steel, unshaken by the battlefield raging around us. He studied me like a wolf deciding if I was worth the bite. Finally, he spoke. His voice was thunder wrapped in gravel. You've come. With the parcel, I nodded, throat dry, and held it out. He didn't take it immediately. Instead, he marched closer, boots crunching on glassy soil. The monsters in the distance hissed but didn't approach, like even they respected his presence. He stopped inches from me, towering. For a second, I thought he might cut me in half just for fun. Instead, he reached out, grabbed the box like it weighed nothing, and slung it under one arm. You've done well, he said. Most couriers never make it this far. I blinked. Thanks? I guess shipping fees really paid off? His lips twitched, not quite a smile, but something close. Then behind him, the battlefield erupted. A wave of shadow creatures surged forward, screeching, blotting out the burning horizon. Mr. Prime drew his blade, its lightning roaring louder, and turned to face them. He didn't flinch, didn't hesitate. He just looked at me once more and said, stay behind me. Then he charged. What followed was less battle and more art. He moved like every war story your grandpa ever told combined. One swing of his blade split 3 monsters in half, lightning sizzling their bodies into ash. He grabbed another by the throat, crushed it, and hurled it into a burning mech. Every strike was brutal, perfect, unstoppable. I, meanwhile, crouched behind a pile of rubble, like the world's most useless sidekick, watching my delivery route turn into Saving Private Prime. The man was more than a soldier. He was a storm given flesh. And for the first time that night, I wondered if maybe, just maybe, These packages weren't just deliveries. Maybe they were weapons, and I had just handed one to the most dangerous man alive. The battlefield lit up like a 4th of July massacre. Mr. Prime carved through monsters with the kind of precision you only see in movies, except this wasn't CGI. This was real, gritty, and terrifying. I stayed crouched behind rubble, trying not to whimper too loudly. Delivery drivers aren't exactly trained for war zones. My usual enemies are porch pirates, not shadow demons with too many teeth. But here's the thing. Every dimension has its vibe, right? The Candyland balloon world wanted me to join a creepy party. The swamp dimension just wanted me dead. This place? It wanted me to watch. And that's when I noticed the package I'd given Prime wasn't just tucked under his arm anymore. He had opened it. Inside, nestled in black cloth, was a gauntlet. It glowed with the same runes carved into his armor, humming with power like a generator about to blow. Prime slid it onto his left hand, and the battlefield answered. The sky thundered. The ground cracked. The monsters screeched in unison like they knew the game was over. When he clenched his fist, the nearest 20 just ceased existing. Gone. Not even ash left. My jaw hung open. So, Amazon Prime, huh? Prime didn't laugh. He didn't even acknowledge me. He just kept fighting, the gauntlet turning each blow into something biblical. That's when the rule sheet started burning in my pocket. I pulled it out, and the words had shifted. Delivery, number 4. Recipient, Mr. Prime. Enter the rift only when the sky burns. Do not speak first. Do not run. Do not let him leave with the gauntlet. My stomach dropped. I glanced at Prime, this walking apocalypse who could probably flick me into dust without breaking stride, and realized I had just broken the worst possible rule. Courier! His voice boomed like cannons. I nearly peed myself. More of them rise. Stay close. I squeaked. About that. The rules kinda... Before I could finish, a shadow beast lunged at me from behind. I froze, package scanner in one hand, regret in the other. Prime turned, faster than anything that size should move, and obliterated it with a single punch of his gauntlet. The shockwave rattled my bones. You live because I allow it, he said flatly, and turned back to the fight. Yeah, totally comforting. Here's the problem. I couldn't exactly wrestle the gauntlet away from him. The dude was 10 times my size and built like a tank that had been hitting creatine for decades. If I even tried, I'd end up splattered across the battlefield like chunky salsa. But rules are rules. They've saved my life every shift. And if the sheet was telling me not to let him leave with it, then that meant one thing. If Prime walks out with the gauntlet, I'm screwed. Maybe not just me. Maybe everything. I sat there in the dirt, brains scrambling while Prime waged war like a god. Monsters fell. The sky bled. The battlefield trembled. And all I could think was, how the hell do you stop the most unstoppable man alive? By the time the last shadow creature crumbled into ash, Prime stood in silence, blade dripping with something that smoked on contact with the ground. He slid the sword across his back, gauntlet still glowing on his hand. Then he turned to me. You'll guide me out, he said. Not a question, a command. My mouth went dry. The rule sheet burned hotter, like it wanted to sear the warning directly into my skin. Do not let him leave. I forced a smile that probably looked like a death grimace. Yeah, about that. We might need to talk about return policies. Prime narrowed his eyes, the battlefield's fire reflecting in them. And for the first time since I met him, I realized something that chilled me worse than any monster. Mr. Prime wasn't a hero. He was a weapon. And I had just armed him. Guide me, Mr. Prime said, gauntlet sparking like a miniature storm. I nodded too quickly, like some intern agreeing with their boss. My brain screamed at me, do not let him leave. But how do you stop a man who just turned an army of nightmare monsters into dust bunnies? I stalled. Yeah, sure thing. It's just, there's a process. Gotta scan the package in my system, confirm delivery, yada yada. Prime tilted his head. His stare was sharper than his sword. You would delay me? Not delay. Just bureaucracy. Can't fight red tape, right? I fumbled with my scanner, which beeped like a dying Tamagotchi. My shaking hands nearly dropped it. Prime loomed over me, the battlefield glowing like a forge around his silhouette. Do what you must. But quickly. The rift will not wait great. No pressure. Just hurry up while a human war god breathes down my neck. The rules had never updated on me before. That alone told me this was serious. They weren't suggestions, they were survival. But how? What was I supposed to do? Steal the gauntlet? Right. I'd be paced. Maybe I could trick him. Get him to set it down? Distract him long enough to... A shadow on the horizon shifted. Not another wave of monsters. Something else. Bigger. A shape like a mountain pulling itself upright. Wings of ash spreading across the burning sky. The earth trembled under its roar. Prime didn't flinch. He just flexed his gauntleted hand, lightning arcing across his armor. The Warden stirs. Good. It has been too long since I bled something worthy. I nearly fainted. Worthy? This thing made the previous horde look like mall cops. The Warden lumbered toward us, each step shaking my teeth. And all I could think was, if Prime beats that with the gauntlet, there's no stopping him. He'll walk out of here carrying a Godslayer's glove, and then the real nightmare begins. Courier, Prime barked. Stand back. This is my war. I wanted to obey. Every instinct told me to crawl into a hole and let this play out. But the rule sheet seared against my skin like it knew what I was thinking. Do not let him leave with the gauntlet. So I did something profoundly stupid. I shouted, wait! Prime actually paused, which was insane in itself. What is it? Your, gauntlet, I stammered. Standard protocol says it has to be, calibrated. By me. Otherwise it'll, void the warranty. Yes. I told the most dangerous man alive his murder glove needed a warranty check. His eyes narrowed. Sparks danced across his armor. For a long moment I was sure he just split me in two. Then, to my shock, he extended the gauntlet-clad hand toward me. Calibrate it then. Quickly. Oh, crap. I stepped forward, legs jelly, staring at the weapon that could end me with a twitch. I raised my scanner like it was some holy relic, praying it would do something besides beep uselessly. The moment I touched the gauntlet, the world shifted. Visions slammed into me. Armies burning, dimensions collapsing. Prime standing victorious over piles of bodies. Whole realities bowed to him. His name carved into ruins. Mr. Prime wasn't just a soldier, he was a conqueror. This gauntlet wasn't delivered to stop the monsters. It was delivered to let him finally win. My hand shook, but I forced myself to speak. Calibration failed. His gaze darkened. Explain. I swallowed hard. The gauntlet, it's unstable, needs to be reset. Otherwise it might burn you alive. It was a gamble. A desperate lie. But for the first time, Prime hesitated. The Warden roared again, closer now. Prime's jaw tightened. He looked at me like a man deciding whether to gut his mechanic before a race. Finally, he snarled. Then, reset it. Do it now. And just like that, the war hero, the badass, the unstoppable Storm, had handed me the only weapon that could kill him. The gauntlet was heavier than anything I'd ever held, not just in weight. It pressed into my bones, my mind, my soul. My scanner beeped frantically like it was about to explode, but the moment my skin touched those runes, I felt it. Raw, endless power. Mr. Prime towered over me, scarred face tight with impatience. The battlefield burned around us, and the Warden's silhouette shook the sky like thunder. Reset it, Prime growled. Yeah, of course. Resetting. Totally standard procedure, I muttered, trying not to hyperventilate. My brain screamed two things at once. Put the gauntlet back before he carves you in half. Never let him have it again, or you'll doom everything. The rules sheet scorched in my pocket, hotter than ever. The warden moved closer, dragging its wings through the firestorm. Each step sent shockwaves rattling my teeth. Prime didn't even look at it. His eyes were locked on me, as if the ancient titan was just background noise. "Courier," he barked. "Do it." I swallowed hard. So, quick question. What's in this for you?" He tilted his head. "Victory." "Against what?" His lip curled into something between a sneer and a smile. "Everything." "Oh, fantastic. Just your average genocidal conqueror with a cool superhero name." The gauntlet thrummed in my hands, alive and eager. Images flickered through me. If I slipped it on even for a second, I'd have the strength of Prime. I'd be unstoppable. But I also saw the other side. Corruption creeping into me. Visions of me standing over a broken earth, the same way Prime had stood over other worlds. This wasn't a weapon. It was a disease. "Courier!" Prime thundered, snatching me out of the vision. "Now!" The warden roared behind us, closer than ever. A tidal wave of molten ash surged forward, knocking me to my knees. The gauntlet nearly slipped from my hands. And in that second, the rules didn't just burn. They screamed. Do not let him leave with the gauntlet. It wasn't a suggestion. It was an ultimatum. I clutched the thing tighter, backing away. Prime's eyes narrowed. "What are you doing?" My voice cracked, but I forced it out. "Reset failed. System lockout. Sorry, boss." For the first time, Prime's composure cracked. His aura flared, lightning whipping the air. "You dare!" The warden struck. Its colossal hand slammed down, shaking the battlefield like an earthquake. Prime leapt aside, rolling with inhuman speed, blade flashing into his grip. Sparks and fire erupted as he met the monster head-on, each strike ringing like 1,000 bells. And me? I was left crouched in the rubble, holding the gauntlet that could decide who won this war. I watched Prime fight, and it was like watching a storm wrestle a volcano. He was pure destruction, the kind of fighter that turns legends into cautionary tales. Every move was perfect, efficient, brutal, but the warden wasn't falling. For every wound Prime carved, the Titan healed. For every strike that landed, it hit back twice as hard. And slowly I realized, without the gauntlet, Prime might actually lose. Which meant I had two choices. Give him the gauntlet back, save my own skin, and break the rule, dooming God knows how many worlds. Keep it away from him, let him fall, and face the warden myself. Neither option exactly screamed happy ending. The gauntlet pulsed again, almost whispering in my head, "Wear me." My hand shook as I stared at it. Could I do it? Could I wield what Prime had even for a second? Or would it turn me into the same monster he was destined to be? Prime roared as the warden slammed him back into the dirt. His sword skittered across the ground, stopping at my feet. "Courier!" he bellowed, fury and desperation twisting his voice. "Give it to me!" The gauntlet seared my palms. The rules screamed in my ears. And I realized the next move wasn't about survival anymore. It was about who gets to decide the fate of every world. The gauntlet burned like a star in my hands. Mr. Prime staggered back to his feet, chest heaving, armor cracked from the warden's last blow. The battlefield quaked as the Titan pulled itself upright, wings blotting out the burning sky. Prime pointed at me, his voice thundering across the firestorm. "Courier! Deliver it." Now the rules screamed back at me like sirens. Do not let him leave with the gauntlet. It was the loudest they'd ever been. Not advice, not caution, command. My heart hammered. I looked down at the gauntlet. It pulsed in time with my heartbeat, whispering promises, strength, control, victory. If I put it on, even for a second, maybe I could end this. But Prime's sword lay at my feet too. The legendary blade that had cut armies apart. No corruption, no whispers, just steel. I swallowed hard, adrenaline flooding me. I had two choices: hand the gauntlet back to Prime, watch him topple the Warden and then every other dimension that followed, or strap it onto my own arm, burn myself out, and hope I didn't turn into something worse. Neither sounded like retirement plan material. The Warden shrieked, a sound that made my teeth rattle. It swung again, an avalanche of molten ash. Prime dove into it, blade flashing, but this time, the Titan caught him. Clawed fingers wrapped around the war hero, crushing him like a tin can. For the first time, Prime screamed, and I knew. This was it. If I didn't act now, everything ended here. I jammed my arm into the gauntlet. Pain shot up my body, white hot and blinding. The runes crawled across my skin, branding themselves into me. My vision split. Half battlefield, half endless dimensions crumbling under my own fists. I was Prime. I was more than Prime. I was everything. The Warden's shadow fell over me. I didn't think, I just punched. Lightning exploded. The Titan reeled back, its chest caving under my strike. Fire and ash erupted like a volcano. My scream wasn't human anymore. It was raw power tearing through reality. For a heartbeat, I felt unstoppable, infinite. The gauntlet wanted me to keep going, to tear down not just the Warden but everything. Whole worlds hung in my grasp. All I had to do was close my fist. Then I saw Prime, broken but still alive, staring at me with something I'd never expected. Fear. Not of the Warden, not of death, of me. That snapped me out of it. I ripped the gauntlet off, throwing it into the dirt. The runes screamed as they left my skin, trying to claw back into me. I grabbed Prime's sword instead, my hands blistering as I lifted it. The blade felt heavy, clumsy, but real. Human. Mine. "Hey, Big Ugly!" I shouted at the Warden, swinging wildly. The steel crackled with leftover sparks, answering my call. Prime's eyes widened as I staggered forward, screaming like a lunatic, and drove the blade straight into the Warden's chest. The Titan howled, wings collapsing inward. Fire rained from the sky as it imploded, sucked back into the rift with a deafening roar. Then silence. I collapsed, coughing blood, the battlefield quiet around me. Prime crawled toward the gauntlet, hand outstretched. I kicked it into the flames before he could touch it. The runes wailed as the fire swallowed them, vanishing into ash. Prime's face twisted in rage. "Fool! Do you know what you've done? That power—" "Yeah," I panted, slumping against rubble. "I stopped you from turning this into your personal gym membership." His hand twitched toward his blade, but the rules whispered one last time. "Your delivery is complete. Leave." And just like that, the rift pulled me backward. Prime's furious roar vanished in a blink, and I was back in my crappy van, sweat soaking the seat. The package scanner beeped. Delivery complete. I sat there in silence, staring at my blistered hands. The rule sheet was gone, burned away. All that remained was a single note in its place. "Thank you, courier." I laughed, or maybe cried. Hard to tell. Either way, I slammed the van into drive and tore out of there like hell itself was in my rear view. Because it probably was. That's the job. I deliver packages. Not the kind with bubble wrap. The kind that can burn down worlds if they fall into the wrong hands. And next shift, there'll be another box waiting.